All right, folks. So we have the Stanley Cup Finals that is starting on Saturday. Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. First off, by the way, well, give it to me in your series overview because I'm going to spotlight you for a second. This has got to be the matchup nobody saw coming. Like that Florida versus Edmonton. You figured maybe Florida versus Dallas. We all kind of crowned Dallas. And I know I had them going to the Stanley Cup Finals. I think I had winning it. You had them going to the Stanley Cup Finals at the beginning of the year, right?
Dallas, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just unreal, Phil. But all right. I would love to hear your thoughts about this one. I have my article up on X about this, about Destiny awaiting. Phil, what is your thoughts on this series?
You know, the Edmonton Oilers are really kind of a surprise in the not just the fact that they've gotten to this point, but the fact that they're playing as well defensively as they have. And it's a credit to Chris Knobloch to getting that team to play a very sound and structured defensive game, and for him to be able to get the defense that he's gotten out of that corpse, because that corpse is not great on paper. Like your two best defenders are Ekholm and then Bouchard, and then you have Darnell Nurse right there, and then after that, what is it, Cody Ceci? I mean, Philip Broberg has now jumped back into the fray since he's come back from his injury. It's not a great group on paper, but they're getting a lot. They're getting the sum of their parts. Basically, it's crazy to think about. Adam Henrique has been good for them. Corey Perry coming back into the lineup helped them out quite a bit. McDavid has just been McDavid, another 30-point postseason before even getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like how does this guy have 30 points in the playoffs before the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's still not a 2-point per game player? Like this is the guy that I think last year, I think it was he had. He was over a 2-point per game pace in the playoffs, and if he would have gotten to the Stanley Cup Finals, I think that he would have had. It would have been the second player in NHL history to have a 40-point, or third rather, to be a 40-point postseason. Just nuts when you think about it. But they're there. It's not just McDavid and Draisaitl. Hyman's been really good for them. Connor Brown has been great. Yeah, that goal that he toeyed on Miro Heiskanen is stupid. That just goes to show you that Connor McDavid can just toy with people when he wants to. I think this is going to be a tougher matchup for Florida than the Rangers because I think their defense is better at moving the puck out of the zone. I think they have a more mobile defense. I think guys like Bouchard can give them problems. I think Ekholm is better than moving the puck. I think they're facing a bigger, more mobile, and more healthy defense this time around. And not only that, but McDavid and Draisaitl can lug that puck out of the zone with ease. Nugent-Hopkins is a very good skater that can move it. Ryan McLeod in a bottom six role is great. Dylan Holloway is coming up. I mean, Connor Brown has been huge for them. Huge. Nobody would have thought that would have been a big addition to them. He's been great for them. Really good for them. Again, I think that they're going to give Florida more of a run than people are expecting, and they maybe could even win it. Because Florida is now going to have to answer not just to Mika Zibanejad and Vinny Trocheck. They're going to have to answer to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it. And I think a lot of the calls that Florida has gotten away with, they're not going to get away with against Edmonton because Edmonton is one of their cash cows right now. I think that they're going to call things tighter. When they start doing things to McDavid that they were doing to the Rangers, they're going to get called for it. So,
and folks, just to echo one of the things you said about McDavid has 26 assists in the playoffs.
Yes.
Two players have more points than he has just assists, and they're both his teammates.
Yep.
That is scary. That is very, very, very scary. So we're gonna get Anthony back in a second, but we're still. I'll start. I guess I'll start the X factors, and one of my X factors, I kind of in the article I have that I go forward. I just think the Florida sport check is going to be just absolutely devastating for Edmonton. I know that you were saying before that Edmonton's able to move the puck a little bit better. The Florida brings that same forecheck they did against the Rangers. Good night. It's already over.
And
And the other part of that is, I think Edmonton, the way they've been restricting shots on net and their defense ever since Game 6 against the Vancouver Canucks, it can't be understated. Knobloch has gotten this team to finally play this defensive style that could win them a Stanley Cup, and it's shown up. It's shown up in Stuart Skinner's play. Skinner has been much better since then. You don't see him with a 970, 793 save percentage. It's I can get the number for you in a second, but it's very. Yeah, you know what? Maybe
that's the thing. You talk about that forecheck, and Edmonton just did the same thing to Dallas that Florida did to the Rangers, and that's why everybody's saying Panthers in 5, Panthers in 4. You're in for a surprise. I really do think you're in for a surprise, and I'm not going to sit here and downplay Alexander Barkov and his factor, how much of a factor he was in that series and shutting down Mika Zibanejad, but he's going to be going against Connor McDavid, not Mika Zibanejad.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what that means? He can only do that against one line. That other line, that Leon Draisaitl line, is going to be wide open. And who is going to handle that line? Who? Lundell? Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, I have sung the praises of Anton Lundell for a while. That's a tall order to ask him to stop Leon Draisaitl. You know, Barkov, though, he could, if he does neutralize McDavid, which, by the way, what exactly is neutralizing McDavid? He only gets 7-8 points in this series.
Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, you're talking about neutral. Like, Connor McDavid is not going to get shut down to the point where he has no points in this series. I hope people know that because no matter how bad he is, he still puts up points, and he still puts up points in bunches. So I think that there are a lot of people that are sitting there overhyping Florida, and the job that they did on the Rangers, but the Oilers Stars have proven that they show up in the big spots. The Rangers' big stars did not, outside of Trocheck and Lafreniere. Mm-hmm. And those are guys that are at the bottom of the big star tier. Your Panarins, your Kreiders, and your Zibanejads didn't show up.
Well, remember that press conference Paul Maurice had where somebody asked him how many giveaways they had on the sheet, and it was just one? I think it was after Game 5. And he laughed it off and just said, who was it? Eke? It was Aaron Ekblad. And he goes, oh, he's getting benched for that. I mean, that's where they are right now, Phil. They're going to be there. And, this is a tough series to call. What X factors do you have going?
Honestly, looking at it, I would really look at Edmonton's ability to move the puck because everybody's talking about the forecheck on Florida. I think Edmonton's ability to move the puck is far better than the Rangers. Mm-hmm. I think their transition game is better. I think their 5-on-5 game is far better than the Rangers. And that's why the Rangers lost, because they couldn't score at 5-on-5. And then their power play got neutralized. Florida, I don't know how they neutralize that power play of Edmonton's. Edmonton's power play is the best power play in the league, hands down. It's not even close.
Phil, let's go one more step, because we're sitting here talking about Florida neutralizing Edmonton's power play. How about Edmonton neutralizing Florida's power play? Because Edmonton is killing penalties at a 93.9% clip. Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say Edmonton did a job on Dallas. And a lot of people, I saw a comment in the stat saying, well, the stars didn't show up. Okay. So you're not going to credit Edmonton for that, but you're going to credit Florida for doing that to the Rangers?
Yep.
Can't have it both ways.
And again, this is something that when you're looking at Edmonton, now one thing about Florida is they're almost up there since the Boston series. I think they were like middle of the pack in the first round, but since the Boston series, they've been killing it at about I think it was a 91 or 92%. I had the number for you. I don't have my notes in front of me right now, but it's just there's a lot that Florida can kind of come back with. Again, I think one of those things that's going to neutralize things, and we'll get to the under the radar players. I'll start with you in a second, but I look at the goaltending matchup, and I see that this clearly goes to Florida. But again, if Stuart Skinner is the one that was playing the last 6 games, and I have that number for you since his benching, he has a 181 goals against and a 919 save percentage. That is incredible. And I mean, you got to love the job that Chris Knobloch has done. And it's funny, Phil, because he's a guy that I said the Rangers had to go away from the rookie head coach because it doesn't happen. And he goes to Edmonton and he brings them to the Stanley Cup Finals. So, Phil, under the radar, what's a player you got? Or one in each?
Zach Hyman.
Really?
Zach Hyman. I would look for him to call it. The big thing with the Rangers is that they weren't able to attack the middle. Even Chris Kreider just get to the middle of the front of the net, whatnot. Zach Hyman is going to be called upon to make Aaron Ekblad's life hell. And I tell you, he plays a lot harder of the game than Chris Kreider does. And everybody wants to talk about, Zach Hyman is a Connor McDavid tap-in merchant. Okay. They're going to need that in this series against Florida. Because Zach Hyman going to the front of the net and taking Aaron Ekblad with him, you know what that does? Opens up all of that space for Connor McDavid to run around and do whatever the hell he wants. So if you neutralize Ekblad by having Hyman in front of that net, because if Ekblad doesn't remove Hyman in front of the net, that means that Forsling is going to have to step up big time on McDavid. And can Forsling shut down McDavid? I don't think he can.
Phil, by the way, you got to love the Zach Hyman's just a Connor McDavid tap-in merchant, or back when you could say the same thing about Chris Kunitz back in the day with Sidney Crosby. But if it was so easy, why doesn't everybody else?
This is a big thing. Zone entries were a huge issue for Rangers. Huge issue for the Rangers. Mm-hmm. Connor McDavid is the ultimate cheat code at zone entries.
Yep.
And his speed is going to back that defense right off the line. Even Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl is not known as a burner, but he is a deceptively fast skater. And he is very good at making moves at that line and making defenders absolutely miss and look stupid. So I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a lot more even of a series than you think.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. And who do you got for the Panthers for an under the radar guy?
This is a tough one. I'm going to say Lundell because
he's mine too.
It's whether or not he can neutralize one of McDavid or Draisaitl. And let's just say they're in Edmonton and they get that change and they get McDavid away from Barkov. Like, that's going to be a big problem because then you're going to ask Lundell to shut down Connor McDavid, and I don't think that's happening. So if Lundell is going to be on one of either McDavid or Draisaitl this entire series, and this is going to be a lot to ask of Anton Lundell. It really is.
And Phil, just to keep going, Anton Liddell had 3 points in the Eastern Conference Finals, a goal and an assist in the last 2 games. The goal ended up being the go-ahead goal in Game 5, the biggest goal probably the Panthers, arguably in their history. You might look back on it and think. And the assist to Tarasenko, which was the Eastern Conference clincher. I mean, he just put that puck right where I think it was right past Miller or Schneider, and well, both of them actually. And that was the series winner. So I mean, he's looking like a guy that's going to be there. Anthony, I'm gonna say my under the radar guy for Edmonton because Phil already took Lundell from me, and then I got yours. But my under the radar guy is actually Adam Henrique. Adam Henrique, when he was with the Devils that first year, I believe it was his rookie year, he just was made for the big moment. He had 2 OT clinchers in the 2012 playoffs. I mean, this guy, if he's going to be able to harness that, it might be a long series for the Panthers. Anthony, who do you have for your under radar players?
For Florida, I'm gonna go Lusterainen. I thought he was great in the Rangers series. He made some big plays. He forechecked. He was a little bit of a pest. I think a guy like him could come up clutch this series against the Oilers. Usually are in the finals. It's those unsung heroes. And for Edmonton, I mean, I wouldn't exactly call him under the radar player because he scored 50 goals, but I'm going to go Zach Hyman. I mean, all eyes are going to be on Draisaitl and McDavid. If Hyman can get loose and score a couple of goals and kind of give those 2 big guns some offensive support, I think that will go a long way for the Oilers. But those are my 2, and particularly for Florida, again, I think a guy like Lusterainen can be a thorn. Phil mentioned Lundell trying to shut down McDavid, but Lusterainen is a hard-nosed player. He could skate well. I look to him to try to bang Draisaitl and McDavid as much as he can.
Yeah, I saw that comment from Jay. Yeah, Corey Perry is going to be just as much of a pain in the ass as Sam Bennett is. So I don't understand why anyone would think that Perry. No, Perry's been playing. He's been playing.
He's back. He's back.
He's there.
By the way, Corey Perry, the first player to play for 5 teams in the Stanley Cup Finals. Hard to believe that one.
Man, yeah. Claude Lemieux must be rolling in his grave right now. Him and Mike Keane. Mr. I followed the cup followed me.
Didn't Perry
Claude Lemieux only had 3, right?
What?
Claude Lemieux had 3. The Canadiens, the Devils, and the Avalanche, right?
And the Devils again. He had 4 Stanley Cups.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's 3 different franchises.
Yes.
Didn't Perry lose 3 cups in a row?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He couldn't pull the Hossa and get it on the
time.
Yeah. Well, the Hossa found a way to make sure he stuck with an organization longer. I think it's even odder for me. Hossa lost back-to-back years with both teams that were in the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, that's just odd. So, all right. Anthony, do you have an X factor, by the way, you're looking into the series?
I mean, I think, yeah, I kind of do. We all know that Bobrovsky in Florida get the nod with the goalie matchup, but if Stuart Skinner can kind of, rise to Bob's level, I think that could go. I think that'd go a long way for the Oilers. I mean, we all know that Draisaitl and McDavid, they're going to score goals. They're going to give the Oilers points. But it's a matter of can the Oilers keep the puck out of their net with Florida's big guns and Verhaeghe, Reinhart, Barkov, Bennett. So, if Stuart Skinner can raise his game a couple of notches and match that of Bob's, because Bob's going to bring it, that could make the series even closer.
All right. Well, gonna see if I can stretch this out for just another second to get Phil back in, because we're gonna do prediction time. This is the biggest prediction and the last one we're gonna have all season. just wow. I can't believe we're already up to the Stanley Cup Finals. It feels like yesterday I was still in Hicksville, the previous place, doing the season preview with you guys and giving my Stanley Cup predictor. I mean, I just can't believe Edmonton's just done such a great job.
You know what's wild is that I think both general managers were asked this question. I don't know if it was Friedman that was doing the story on it or who, but he was talking about how the Game 7, if it goes that far, would be on June 24th. The draft 4 days later on the 28th, and then free agency 3 days after that. So it acts like, what they thought about that was, and they're like, listen, if they both kind of said at the beginning of the year, if you would tell me that would be our biggest problem, he's like, I would take it and run. But, these teams right here, if it goes the distance, they're going to have to turn it around for a pretty quick off season and get their pro scouting done and, transition. So it's going to be a wild ride, really, the Stanley Cup Finals right into all of the silly season. So, but again, those two teams will gladly take short off seasons and have to hurry in to get all that in order if it means them winning a Stanley Cup. But it is pretty funny how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, that's insane on that turnaround. But Anthony, we'll get this started. We'll have Phil go last. Who do you have in the series hoisting the Stanley Cup, and who will be awarded the Conn Smythe?
I think the Panthers are going to take it in 6, and their netminder John Van Beesbrook is going to win the Conn Smythe.
He could have in that sweep.
Yeah, I think Ed Jovanowski is going to be big with blocking shots. So that's my pick. But
hey, don't forget Tom Fitzgerald. He's going to be huge in the series.
Yeah, but seriously, still the Panthers in 6. And my Conn Smythe winner is Barkov. I think, you got to remember Conn Smythe isn't just the finals, it's the playoffs as a whole. And, while I think Sam Bennett could be immensely important for Florida this series, I think Barkov is going to win it for Florida.
Yeah, I have the Panthers in 6. Phil, you should have heard the name drops that.
I heard. Anthony, is Paul Laus going to be playing 25 minutes a game for Florida on the blue line?
Yeah.
Phil, my guy, I have the same thing as Anthony. I have the Panthers in 6. I'm agreeing with you before. I think this is a much tougher matchup, and I give all credit to Chris Knobloch, who has finally gotten Edmonton to play a playoff Stanley Cup style. Like, I mean, this is a team that finally looks like they could fulfill the promise that they can. I just see Florida being one step ahead of them, and I can't say how many times I thought to myself, God damn it, Barkov, every time in the Eastern Conference Finals. And he was everywhere, smothering everything. And then he created his own offense. So I just think Barkov is the Conn Smythe, and I think the Panthers in 6. Phil?
Oilers in 4 games. Mike Krushelnyski wins the Conn Smythe Trophy, scoring 10 points in 4 games.
Wait, what about Todd Marchand?
No, Todd Marchand got scratched. He got scratched for Fernando Pisani. Yeah. So, but no, seriously, I gotta say Florida probably in 7. I think this is going to be a tougher series than people think. I think people are really underestimating Edmonton's ability to move the puck, and the fact that they're going to be able to exit and enter Florida's zone with greater ease than the Rangers ever could. I also think that a lot of people really haven't watched the Dallas series, and they really don't understand what Edmonton is doing defensively to teams. Dallas is a deeper roster than Florida, and they need mincemeat of that roster, and they're going to take that confidence into this series. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if Edmonton won. Really wouldn't. It would not shock me at all. So I think if Edmonton wins, they do win it in 7. but I'm going to say Florida in 7 just because I do see that Florida plays a mean, nasty game, and I think that's going to be a factor in this series. I think ultimately, though, it comes down to goaltending for me, and Bobrovsky is a better goaltender than Skinner, and that's really what's going to do it.
Do you have Bob as the Conn Smythe?
No, I would have Barkov.
I mean, we were unanimous when it came to the Rangers versus the Panthers in the last round. This would be a whole other animal if all of us got Barkov winning the Conn Smythe and the Panthers winning. But the way that Edmonton's won the last 3 games, you really can see Edmonton winning this Stanley Cup, right?
Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
I think, again, I'll say this again. The biggest thing for me is the fact that you can stick Zach Hyman in front of that net, and he could take Aaron Ekblad out of the play. And that creates a ton of room for Connor McDavid to run around and do what he wants. And you talk about, he's a tap-in merchant, Zach Hyman. I mean, think about it, Anthony. You watched something like this years and years ago with Matt Molson and John Tavares. Hi, Giuseppe.
Yeah.
But, I just think it's funny that he's just sitting there and he's all nice and quiet and everything. But Matt Molson did that with John Tavares. And it gave John Tavares so much room to run around on the ice and score points. McDavid can do what Tavares does and do it 10 times better and 10 times faster. So that's going to cause a problem for Florida. Not only that, but all the zone entries. The Rangers could not enter Florida's zone. They couldn't set up a forecheck. Edmonton's going to be able to do a better job of that than the Rangers did. And people don't understand this. So I honestly think that this is going to be a more evenly played series than people think.
Yeah, this is going to just be absolutely crazy. And everybody was kind of saying this might be the nightmare for ESPN and the NHL. You're talking about the biggest star in the NHL, finally on the biggest stage. And he's been waiting for this his entire life. I think he's gonna surpass 40 points in the playoffs. So that means he just needs 9 in this series. He'll do that in the
Yeah, I think he'll definitely do that.
I mean, he's I think I heard this
shocked if he didn't break the 40-point mark.
I think I heard this correctly. He's the 6th player to score 30 points in a playoff in 2 playoff years or multiple playoff years.
Gretzky, Lemieux.
6 times. Lemieux.
I don't think anyone else has done it multiple times, though.
I think it was, or maybe it was just once. Because Gretzky did it 6 times. I remember that as being
Gretzky and Gretzky also was the only one with multiple 40-point seasons.
Yeah. Curry, I know, is in there.
Curry had a 30-point season, but I don't think he did it multiple times.
Messier,
Leach, Malkin, Crosby, Kuznetsov.
So I mean, it's absolutely just incredible. What the real and for people thinking this is going to be a boring series, again, I'm just going to laugh about that one. You got Connor McDavid in the finals, and you think anything's going to be boring around Matthew Tkachuk? Absolutely not. I mean, I'm trying to think of what my fiance's name for Matthew Tkachuk was. So, all right, she just stated how much she hated him. That was about it. But yeah. So
did you do bar talk?
We actually didn't do bar talk. How are we doing on time, guys? Can you guys stick around for a little bit longer?
Yeah, I could.
Okay. So, guys, let's go do about the fastest bar talk that we can. And because thank you all everybody for sticking around on this one. We're really working overtime today. Let's go.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever had to answer.